Storyblocks has spent millions of dollars on sponsorships for more than 2,000 creators over the last 5 years, and we get messages from creators asking about partnerships almost every single day. So trust us when we say that there's a right and wrong way to approach a brand deal. In this video, I'll walk you through the exact steps that you can take to land your first deal or level up the deals that you're already getting. Just like you may want to partner with a specific brand, brands want creators that resonate with their customers. So ask yourself, which products or services are naturally associated with the videos you create? In our case, Storyblocks has a huge library of royalty-free 4K footage, templates, and music, which are great resources for video production. So we partner with creators who make content about video production itself or naturally use stock content in their videos. Here's an example of a Storyblocks integration.
It looked like this car had just smashed into a tree, so we did some production design, but it didn't feel epic enough. I went over to Storyblocks and grabbed some assets that I knew were going to make the film feel better, like the smoke effect that I could put behind the car, the snow that go in the foreground, and it just made it feel more epic.
Once you define your niche, make a list of brands that match your values and audience. Also, notice which brands already sponsor creators who make content in your niche. Even if you don't have an agreement with these brands, you could endorse the products or services you actually use and like. The key here, though, is authenticity. The viewers will be able to tell if you have limited experience or are just reading standard talking points. Best case scenario, the brand sees your post and reaches out to sponsor you. But even if they don't, audiences appreciate the honesty and you'll start building credibility. When I spoke with Steckly, she touched on using this exact technique to build trust with your audience and attract brands.
That's something that, especially in the beginning, I would be considering when I'm planning my content calendar. Like, what are my opportunities to showcase brands that I love using right now that I'm already paying for and I'm a happy customer of? And when can I include that in my overall content so that I have that opportunity to tag them in a way that it feels consistent with the rest of my content.
Once you have a clear short list of the brands you want to approach, you'll need a polished way to introduce yourself. The easiest and most effective tool is a media kit, a single-page digital resume that sums up who you are, who watches you, and why a brand should care. Its purpose is to spotlight your personality, prove your credibility, and spell out the value you'll bring to any collaboration. With the media kit ready, it's time to begin outreach. There's a few different ways to do this, like cold emailing them or tagging the brand organically in a post. In a recent webinar Storyblocks hosted with Grace Wells, she recommended emphasizing your reach and audience when pitching yourself to brands.
The most important thing is to sort of educate the brand on what the true reach of the content is and the sort of impact of the community that you've been able to build. So I think that that's kind of an interesting way in and something that a lot of brands still aren't necessarily fully bought into yet.
If you're doing cold outreach, a great place to start is LinkedIn. Search for employees from that list of brands with the job titles you see on screen. These roles are usually the key decision makers for partnerships, but there's no standard here, so be prepared to dig a little deeper when necessary. Once you find the right people, reach out via LinkedIn or email. Brands gravitate towards pitches that feel custom built. Show you've done your research by tying your idea to a recent campaign or explaining how the company's product would fit seamlessly into your next video. Finally, make the process effortless by attaching that concise one-page media kit. When a brand can see fit, proof of concept, and clear numbers at a glance, your proposal is far more likely to advance. Before talking numbers, make sure you and the brand are clear on exactly what you're delivering. How many pieces of content are you creating? Which platforms will they live on? And when will they go live? Are there any talking points or calls to action? And how long can the brand repost or boost the video? When all of those details are in writing, there's no room for surprises and you can head into rate discussions with total confidence. Now, this list isn't completely exhaustive, and depending on what video you make, you might have additional questions. Just make sure you get all of these details in writing before the final deal is done. When it comes to pricing yourself as a creator, there are a ton of strategies that you could apply, but if you're just starting out, try this straightforward 3-step equation to get a ballpark figure. Production hours times hourly rate plus expected views divided by 1,000 times niche CPM plus your brand fit premium. Presenting this clear breakdown shows brands exactly where each dollar goes and makes approving your proposal much easier. This formula is really there to protect you, but it's important to remember that production value isn't what the brand is buying. What they want is access to your audience.
My concept of value was always time-based. And so when I first started pricing videos, I was very much thinking about it as, okay, well, I used to make, $15 an hour at this minimum wage job or whatever. So I'm going to charge $30 an hour and it's going to take me this long. And that's how I'm going to arrive at my price. But if the brand is then using that piece of content and generating tens of thousands of dollars worth of revenue in sales, now all of a sudden that doesn't feel necessarily like you're being adequately compensated for the work that you've done.
Early on, you may only land deals that hover around your production cost, and that's fine while you're still proving your reach. However, if you've made it to the negotiation table, the brand is interested, so it's almost always better to open high and let them negotiate down rather than underprice yourself from the start. The creators who turn a one-off gig into steady work nail 3 fundamentals. First, they communicate quickly and meet every deadline, keeping the brand in the loop on progress or snags during production. Second, they sweat the details, following the brief to a T and using the correct links, assets, and calls to action. And third, they stay open to feedback, revising as agreed upon until the content hits the mark. As a creator, these habits are non-negotiable. The smoother and more collaborative the process, the more likely a brand is to book you again. The final thought I'll leave you with is to start by building trust and credibility. Brands are looking for creators with a clear voice and a genuinely engaged audience. My hope is that this video will help y'all land some amazing deals. So if it did, drop those success stories in the comments down below. And if you need some editing help, I've also linked to Storyblocks.com in the description, so head over there to get unlimited stock media downloads at one set price.